Ooh, the gym. My old stomping grounds. Hank Patterson, fly fishing guide.
Riley Smith, tight end.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hey, you wouldn't happen to be the kicker?
No, tight end.
Again, thank you. I'm looking for a kicker for Lithia Ford's fall kickoff sale. But you're not the kicker.
No.
Yeah, nah, the kicker's probably taller and in a lot better shape. So, okay. What position do you play?
Tight end.
Squats. Yeah, try it sometime.
I may be retired, but I still have finances to manage. With direct deposit and automatic payments, ICCU makes it easy to spend less time banking and more time baking.
RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics, is going all in this season with an all-star lineup. First up, he led the Broncos to 3 conference championships and 10 20-win seasons. It's Coach Leon Rice. Next, he's the founder and CEO of RowPaint.com. He played a little basketball in high school on the driveway with his mom. It's Andy Rowe.
Oh, no. Want to just paint my house?
Now that I can do. When I want Boise State to win, I trust Coach Rice to lead the Broncos to victory.
And when I want the best painting and garage floor coating, I trust RowPaint.com to get that job done right.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Today's broadcast is coming from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Canned Cocktails is perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing, Boise State fans? Welcome on in. Happy Tuesday to you here at Bronco Nation News, BroncoNationNews.com. We got KTVB Sports Director Jay Tust along for his Tuesday appearance, and we got a lot to get to today. We are 1 week away, Jay, a week from today, the first basketball game of the season. Crazy to think about that. The season actually starts a week from yesterday. There are games on Monday night. The women's team has an exhibition game this Friday. Then they will play Monday night against College of Idaho in their first regular season game. But a week from tonight, Vanguard comes to Extra Mile Arena. Yes, the vaunted squad of Vanguard. I had to look it up. They are from somewhere in California, which I correctly guessed. I'm not sure a lot of the players on Boise State's team could tell you where Vanguard is, but that'll be the opening game on Tuesday night. It is one of two non-Division I games on the schedule, and I think Boise State smartly just put one of them first, and so it's kind of like an exhibition game, but it is a real game that counts, at least for the record, maybe not for the NCAA tournament or the net rankings or those kind of things, but you get a kind of a tune-up game against Vanguard a week from tonight, and then you get the first real test against a quality San Francisco team on Sunday afternoon, the following Sunday, and then it is off to Clemson for that game and the tournament. So they're going to get right into it here. And so, got the big football game coming up on Saturday. We'll obviously talk plenty of football as we get ready for the Fresno State game. But, Jay, it's nice to look up and say 1 week from today, it'll be game day for the basketball team.
Yeah, man. This is where the overlap, and the fun begins, right? We got basketball, we got football, we got the holidays. November has like its own unique energy, and it can be overwhelming, but I also just kind of love it. So it's going to be a fun month of November with the Boise State football team trying to, compete and pull some upsets and get to a bowl game. And I don't know how many times we've said that. And then obviously with the basketball season tipping this thing off in what is probably one of, if not the most hyped season that we've seen for this squad in a while. And that's saying something because the last few seasons there's been a ton of hype. Well,
I wanted to get to that. I actually wanted to ask you if they're being overhyped at all. Is there any worry about that? But Mackenzie says, did I miss something? Well, I know ball talk last night. We did mention that yesterday. There was a scheduling conflict last night for Mike Sanford and Johnny. So they're going to do it this week on Thursday. So Thursday night, 8 p.m. Ball talk with Sanford and Johnny as they get you set for the Fresno State game. So make sure 8 o'clock Thursday, come on back for ball talk. And an early reminder, it's going to be about 5 o'clock or so on November 11th, the day of the New Mexico game. With the game being so late, we're still going to figure something out for postgame, but we're going to have a huge, extra long, extra big pregame show from the James, Kent Riddle, Mike Sanford, Brad Bedell, any other former players, a lot of other folks are going to stop by. Taylor Tharp, you never know who's going to be stopping by. Derek Schumann, the guest list with Mike Sanford is endless of former guys that he played with. Dryzen James, Shane Williams-Rhodes. You have to steal him off of, I don't know if that's contractually allowed or not, off of Jay's podcast. But we're planning a big kind of just story time with Mike Sanford pregame show, and people will be stopping by, saying hello, and it's going to be at the James the day of the New Mexico game. It's an 8 o'clock game, so we're probably going to be out there about 5 o'clock or so. But more details on that to come. But be ready for that. And then also be ready, as I said, Thursday is ball talk at 8 p.m. This week. But let's keep it on basketball for a few more minutes, Jay, here. We're going to have some interviews here this week. I was down there in Vegas a couple weeks ago for the media days. Boise State obviously picked second in the preseason. You see, John Rothstein say they're one of the 10, non-Power 5 teams to watch. You got Andy Katz saying they're one of 10, sleepers for the Final Four this year. They're getting votes in the polls. What do you make of just the hype they are getting, and any concern that they're being overhyped at all, and that with some of these early tough games in the non-conference here, it may be hard to live up to it early on?
Yeah, it might be hard to live up to it early on, but they schedule this way for a reason. As you and I both know, Mike Burns does a phenomenal job using his network and connections to really compile a compelling non-conference schedule, and they're very strategic in how they do this when it comes down to their net ranking. Like, they don't really schedule too many bad teams, which means there's also not too many bad losses on their schedule outside of, Western Oregon and Vanguard. So just take care of those schools, obviously.
Northwestern State, by the way, Northwestern State is number 334 at KenPom. You have to come all the way down to Cal State Fullerton at 174. So they only play one, there's 350 teams, I guess, in Division One. They only play one team outside of the top 150, or I guess close to that, because Cal State Fullerton is 174. Yeah. But you're talking San Francisco 93, Clemson 51, Virginia Tech 65, St. Mary's 38, North Texas 87, Washington State 84, Utah Valley 166, and that's not counting in that tournament the other teams they could play. So sorry to cut you off there, Jay, but you are correct that outside of Northwestern State on Tuesday, December 12th, every team they are scheduled to play right now is in the top half of KenPom.
Yeah, and so that's what I mean. I'm not predicting them to get off to a slow start or anything like that, but if they drop, a game or two early that you don't want them to drop, this is all part of, a grander plan of why they schedule this way. It will truly help eventually, once the Selection Sunday arrives, and you can honestly go into the season talking about Selection Sunday. And again, I don't know how many times we've been able to do that. I mean, BJ, I don't say that this should be a tournament team. If they've been if they have been an NCAA tournament team the last 2 years, there's no reason they shouldn't be an NCAA tournament team this year. Tyson Degenhart is entering year 13 of his basketball career at Boise State. I kid. It feels like year 13 for him. I think he posted that on Instagram yesterday or Twitter or something, and he said year 3. I feel like we could drop a 1 in front of that thing because he has so much experience. But, with him leading the way with Max Rice, now an all-conference caliber player, they have done a beautiful job of, working the transfer portal and adding immediate impact players that you really feel are kind of low-risk guys. Like, you feel like they're going to come in here and really contribute. Yeah. And if you look at Leon's track record of adding guys out of the transfer portal, at least the last couple of years, it is really, really good with Chibuzo Abo, kind of being the highlight guy on this team. But Cam Martin now has a hell of a track record of producing when he's healthy. So, and then Roddy Anderson might be, he might be the most athletic guy on the team. So it's exciting times for Boise State, and can't wait to see it all play out. And it tips off in under 1 week, BJ.
Yeah, a couple of comments asking about the KenPom here. So I did go ahead and I'll pull it up here for the short term. Not sure legally what I'm supposed to do here, but go subscribe to KenPom. It's worth your $20. You get cool stuff like this. And this is his projections right now. Somebody asked about the Virginia Tech game. KenPom does project them to win that game 72-71. It's a 51% to 49% game. So basically a coin flip game against Virginia Tech on a neutral site because Boise State's 63rd in his rankings. Virginia Tech is 65. That could change. But you see a fairly close competitive game, a 7-point game against San Francisco on that first Sunday, Jay. Clemson is a close loss. St. Mary's a 1-point loss on a neutral court there. That's going to be a huge game. But not a lot of losses, at least in the non-conference. We're waiting to see the rest of who they end up playing. But you look at the conference games, Nevada, 3-point loss. San Diego State at home, 1-point loss. At New Mexico, 5. At Colorado State, 2, and then all the way down to San Diego State on the road, 8. But looks like, if it, at least right now, a nice stretch there late in the season to get hot going into that San Diego State game. But obviously, these will change a lot. A lot of this, Boise State at KenPom. I don't know why this is, Jay, but they always seem to get undervalued. 3 years in a row, Boise State has finished 40 spots higher at KenPom than at least 40 spots higher 3 years in a row than the preseason rankings. And a lot of that is freshmen that haven't played, an Andrew Meadow, an RJ Keene, guys that are hard to put into his computer rankings, what they might be able to do. guys like Chibuzo Abo don't do much at Texas Tech. Boise State knows they're going to have a much bigger role than that computer algorithm probably does, for a Cam Martin and for an Omar Stanley and Roddy Anderson. So the way Boise State puts its roster together, I think, is undervalued at the beginning of the season at KenPom, just because it's hard for a computer to really realize a Cam Martin who played in 4 games last year for Kansas. What's he going to do for this team? So with that said, this is the current projections, but as the season goes on, I think it takes 21 games, Jay. Every game they play, they factor out a little bit of last year's data and add in this year's data, and I think it takes 21 games. So late there, like in mid-January, is when you finally factor out all of last year and you only focus on this year. But 63rd, with that said, with 40 plus spots the last 3 years, starting at 63rd is their highest starting point at KenPom since 2013-2014 season. So or maybe it was 2014-2015, but we're going back almost 10 years since they've started 63rd. And if they continue that trend of improving like they have, they're going to be in a pretty good place.
Yeah. This team usually really test themselves in the non-con, which really helps them for the regular season games. And it seems like that is what they are, trending towards again this year. The Mountain West, I think it's going to be a phenomenal basketball year. I mean, it was great last year. They had a team play for the NCAA championship in San Diego State. You look down and, my preseason rankings, BJ, I'm trying to think if I had Colorado State 5 or 6. I think I had them at 5 because of Isaiah Stevens, but if Isaiah Stevens in Colorado State right now is worthy of like a 5-6 spot in your preseason poll, it's going to show you how tough this league's going to be. Road wins are going to be extremely difficult to come by for the most part when you have half the league that really seems like half the league, BJ, could have a say in who wins this thing, all the way down, like I said, to Colorado State with Isaiah Stevens, who, was in and out of the lineup last year. They have hung on to him with this transfer portal era. And I don't want to speak too much on it or assume anything because I don't know Isaiah and I don't know anybody over at the Colorado State basketball program too well. But the fact that they have hung on to a player of his caliber, through this era speaks volumes of what they're doing over there. So if you go all the way down to Colorado State, a 5-6 seed that is going to be competitive, it's going to be a great year. And then once we finally arrive at the tournament, oh man, it is going to be an absolute gauntlet down there.
Yeah. And we'll get in, next Tuesday on game day, we'll get into more hardcore basketball talk. But one more thing, Jamie, what we talked about Rice, you talked about Degenhart, you talk about Abo. What newcomer? You got the 3 transfers: Roddy Anderson, Cam Martin, Omar Stanley. You have Andrew Meadow. Chris Lockett, I think, is the guy that may redshirt. We'll find out more about that this week. But you got Andrew Meadow. And I guess we can even throw like an RJ Keenan there that hasn't played in 2.5 years, whatever. But in terms of the newcomers or the guys that are going to make their first real impact on this team, who are you most intrigued to see against Vanguard next week?
You bring up RJ Keenan. I actually kind of am intrigued to see RJ just because I feel like he could be a big difference maker in helping this program go to kind of that next level. And what I mean by that is RJ's not going to be a starter this year, with what they bring back. But if they have a guy like him contribute and all of a sudden their bench is 7-8 deep, like that they can really lean on, that's going to make a really big impact on this team come the end of the season, where you're not looking at this and Max Rice and Tyson Degenhart are, 2 out of the top 5 leaders in minutes played in the conference. I mean, they're going to get theirs because they're great players, but even taking a couple minutes off their bodies a game, the wear and tear, or if you get into, some of these lower tier games where, you feel more confident about your bench and you don't have to ride those guys for 30 minutes in a game like that. It's going to help down the road. I think it's going to keep them fresher come the NCAA tournament, and anything that they can do to positively build towards that is a good thing because, it's going to help them, potentially achieve a historic win, their first ever at the NCAA tournament. And like I said, I believe it's perfectly realistic to talk about this team in that breath. I think that they have every shot to be that good this year. But I would also say, like, to pick a new guy, Roddy Anderson. We have seen him on social media kick a 50-yard field goal. We have seen him on social media. You and I were at the team softball game this year.
Yeah.
He hit home runs from both sides of the plate. And I just want to see what he can do on a basketball court, because if he is, if he's anywhere near as good at basketball as he is at some of these other sports we've seen him play, he is going to be fun to watch this season. I think this team's going to be more athletic than they've been in a while too, BJ. I mean, we saw Chibuzo Abo get up and, finish some alley-oops and things last year. And, You look at Roddy can dunk. I mean,
he had, in Canada, man, he had 2 huge thunderous dunks in Canada where he just drove the lane and just dunked right on people.
This team has a chance to probably have a little more wow factor this year than maybe some of the previous teams.
Can I make a bold prediction for next Tuesday at Vanguard?
Bold prediction it up.
Jace Whiting starts over Roddy Anderson at point guard.
Ooh, okay.
We'll see. I think long term, Roddy Anderson is this team's starting point guard. But wouldn't shock me for game 1 against Vanguard if Leon goes with the guy that maybe he knows a little better and feels a little better about, and a Jace Whiting at least to get the start.
Okay. Wouldn't it shock you? Wouldn't it shock you?
No, wouldn't shock me. I'm
joking, buddy.
Oh, I don't know that, and no, it's not like I'm saying I know that, and I'm trying to act like I don't. I don't. I just, based on some conversations I have had, even going back to the summer, I think they're very high on Jace Whiting. I think he's improved a lot. I think they're both going to play a lot. But I do think long term for this team to do what they want to do, I do think Roddy Anderson is this team's starting point guard for the long term. But I wonder if it might take a few games. I wonder if at least for the Vanguard game, wouldn't shock me at all if Jace Whiting gets a start, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody real quick asked who's going to start the 5. I would guess Cam Martin, but that is a really tough battle.
Mm-hmm.
Omar Stanley and Cam Martin both, I think, are going to play a lot of minutes, which you may see some games where maybe Roddy Anderson and Jace Whiting, neither one of them are on the floor at the same time. Maybe Max Rice runs a point a little, and you get both Martin and Stanley in the game together. There's going to be some different combinations, which I think a game like Vanguard is going to help them figure out. Don't forget, they've already basically played 2 games. They played Cal and beat them by 15 in a secret scrimmage, and then they played Weber State just a couple days ago. I do think that they are starting to get an idea on that. Vanguard game, first game with fans will be a little different, obviously. That's going to be a good we've talked about, this team, like you said, Jay, has had, times where they only played 6 players. I mean, to have to argue over or decide who's going to start at center and who's going to start at point guard and who's the third man off the bench, like they're going to have 8-9 guys. I think that there won't be that much of a drop off when they come in, and that's a really good sign.
We've seen this team, every team in basketball battles through it, but they've had injuries in the past, and then it really starts to stretch them and their lineup, and now you have 2 to 3 legit starters that are going to have to come off the bench for this team. The depth of this team, I feel like we've talked about the depth in the past. It's almost felt like more of a forced topic, I would say. But you look at it now, and I'm like, I don't know how they won't be deeper this year. I don't know how that's going to even be possible that they're not, again, 7 to 8 like legit dudes off the bench. And as you said, they'll go a little bit beyond that too. But in Mountain West Conference play, when the rotations really start to get narrow in and get focused, your main rotations they are definitely 7-8 deep this year.
And somebody did ask, I want to move to football talk, but somebody asked what our thoughts were on the new version of the NIT. I don't really like that. Essentially what happened was Fox was trying to create this new tournament, and I think that a lot of the leagues got scared. They didn't want the NIT to become kind of obsolete. So 2 teams each for the Power 6 conferences, the next 20 at-larges. It hurts a lot of the smaller schools. Last year it would have helped the Mountain West because San Jose State would have got in, actually, based on how they pick it. But I don't like it. It's moving too much towards the big guys.
Gloria Navarro kind of touched on this last week, BJ, and I kind of agree with you. There's got to be a better way, whether it be the net rankings or Ken Palm or something out there that can judge how competitive and talented a league is that given year, not just awarding a league based off of its name. I mean, that's what we're kind of getting at here is, and we all know, like the Pac-12, the Pac-12, they were decent last year, but there have been years where the Pac-12 has been down, and you feel like other conferences that are, group of 5 have been better. Why should those quote unquote group of 5 conferences be penalized just because of conference name, not necessarily talent? So
hopefully that's not a problem. Hopefully that's not a problem Boise State has to worry about this year.
Yeah, for sure.
In all honesty. So hey, we will switch and talk football. Don't go anywhere. I see some folks in there saying they're only going to be drinking chocolate milk this week, and they're getting excited for the milk can trophy. Andy Avalos ain't going to talk about it, but we can talk about it. We'll do that in 90 seconds. Don't go anywhere here on Bronco Nation News. All Bronco Nation News broadcasts come from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mix premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Spirits, perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Our title sponsor is rowpaint.com for all your commercial, industrial, residential painting needs. Check out rowpaint.com. Don't forget about their concrete coatings. Transform that ugly concrete slab on your back patio in your garage in just one day. Contact rowpaint.com for a free estimate today. The official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics and our title sponsor at Bronco Nation News is rowpaint.com. Idaho Central Credit Union's been helping members achieve financial success for more than 80 years. There's an ICCU branch on almost every corner, but the closest is in your pocket with free eBranch mobile and online banking. See why more than 500,000 members love ICCU and join 1 in 4 Idahoans by making the switch today at ICCU.com. Since 1984, Ridley's Family Markets has prided itself on being a hometown food and drug store that employed value members of the local community. Ridley's Family Markets has 13 locations in the state of Idaho and many more in the surrounding states. Download the new Ridley's app to your smartphone, get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line, and find a location near you at shopridleys.com. Former Bronco Matt Bauscher is once again the number 1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley. No home is too big or too small for Matt and his team. Let them fulfill all your real estate needs at BauscherRealEstate.com. Back here live on Bronco Nation News, we got the sports director at KTVB, Jay Tust, with us. It is a Tuesday edition. My name is BJ Rains. As you heard, we're broadcasting from the Cutwater Spirits mobile studios. Make sure you pick up one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Jay, yesterday we had the press conferences, Andy Avalos, Bush Hamden, Spencer Danielson. Mike Prater bluntly asking Andy Avalos, why is Taylen Green starting? And interesting answer for me, because he's earned it. He's earned the chance to start, but yet for 3 straight games, he has not earned the chance to have more snaps than Maddox Madsen. Bush Hamden, we should throw out there, I don't think, his answer kind of said maybe there's a chance. He didn't say this, but the way when he was asked about, do you start Maddox or do you think about starting Maddox? And he kind of paused and then said they're going to be competing this week or something to that effect. So I don't think it's a given that Taylen Green is starting again on Saturday. But what do you make of how it's been handled, how it's going to handle moving forward? If Maddox Madsen is going to continue to get more of the snaps, there's some thought, why don't you just start him? You're letting him close in the second half. Just let him play in the first half. What we're seeing, what we're hearing, it still doesn't necessarily line up as we talk about every week, Jay, but where are you with all this? Oh, dollar to the pot. Jay's muted. There we go.
I thought you unmute when we come back from commercial.
No,
breaks.
it's automatic. You don't even have to mute it. It automatically on a commercial break mutes you.
Well,
you don't have to press anything.
Why did it not unmute me?
You must have pressed. Folks, he's trying to turn the table on me. I have no control over the mute button.
You do too.
I could mute you. Jay's muted right now. I just muted him, but I did not. On that one, that was all you.
Okay, I thought that it came out of the commercial and unmuted. Whatever. Anyways, with not a lot of it makes sense. I mean, it does. It doesn't. We're kind of told one thing on, when we're at the press conference, and we were told yesterday Maddox is still only getting about 25% of the snaps in practice, which should definitely suggest they do believe that Taylen Green is their starter. But then on game day, for whatever reason, the flow of the game often lends, Maddox Madsen to getting a majority of the snaps. And, like I said, Taylen Green almost he gets 75% of the snaps in practice, and then Maddox Madsen almost plays 75% of the snaps on game day. And that was, as we were kind of watching that one unfold, it was like, wow, Maddox is probably going to have his largest percentage of snaps over Taylen of any game so far. And I didn't even realize that it was as extreme as it was, but Maddox had 51 snaps. Taylen had 21. I will say Taylen scored 2 touchdowns in those 21 snaps, a 49-yard bomb to Eric McAllister, which was a beautiful, beautiful throw.
They talk about efficiency. They talk about efficiency.
One he's very comfortable making, especially to EMAC. I think he likes throws outside the hashes. I mean, his numbers definitely suggest that. But he also scored a rushing touchdown when they really needed that to kind of, really start to put the game away. But I also say, sometimes I think we're letting the storyline of who is on the field get in the way of the fact that Maddox Madsen's played good. He had his moments and struggles against Colorado State, but heck, who didn't? Except for Ashton Genty, who was unbelievable. But it's just, he comes in, I feel like he's got a great grasp of the offense. He gets through his reads, and he often does it quickly. At times, he feels like he's a step ahead of the game when you can tell he almost creates like his own quarterback draw at times just because of what he thinks he sees in the defense. And usually it's a good call. He's tough. He's accurate. And I mean, BJ, his last incompletion came with like 7:38 left in the second quarter of that game. That was his last incompletion. And he went 10 for 10 down the stretch for 124 yards, finished with a $147 overall and a touchdown. His quarterback efficiency rating, for anyone in the Mountain West that's thrown over 50 attempts this season, and I believe Maddox has thrown 79, his quarterback efficiency rating is number one. It's over 164, and that's really, really good. That is really, really good football. Anybody would take a quarterback efficiency rating like that throughout the country. And I don't know. I think sometimes we get caught up in who's on the field and who's getting what, but it also probably takes a little bit away. And I'm guilty of it, man. I'm as guilty of it as anyone. But Maddox Madsen has been really impressive at times. Okay, so if that is said, and Maddox Madsen is this impressive with 25% of the reps, as you said, at what point does it make sense, or are we past that point why Taylor Green is still starting? It's a great question, and honestly, I just don't think we're ever going to get the answer to it. I think it's perfectly reasonable to speculate that with the transfer portal these days, you really have to carefully navigate stuff like this, and quarterback depth is a premium. And Boise State for a long time now hasn't had an upperclassman in that room. And if you can't find a way to make sure that you're accommodating and taking care of Taylor Green enough that he wants to come back next year, well, guess what? You're back in the same boat again where you have underclassmen only in that quarterback room. And I just do think there's something significant to that. I think that when you have older guys to look up to, I've mentioned this a number of times, I just think it's different when you have older guys to look up to. When Kellen had Bush Hamden, when Hank Bachmeier had Jalen Henderson, there's a big time value on having an older, experienced guy that just knows how to get it done in that quarterback room. And so I think that's what they are carefully trying to navigate through all this. And otherwise, why would it be any other way? If it was the old days where it was super tough to transfer and everything, like I really do. I could be 100% wrong on this, but I think there's just a little bit of legitimacy to it.
There has to be. They can say, and I know like Brad Bedell, Kent Riddle both come on the post-game shows and said you can't for 1 second think about next year when you're making this decision. You have to win every game. But there has to be some thought has to be, what are we doing at quarterback next year if Taylor Green leaves? Right. And
Here's the deal. I don't think like when they're actually like drawing up the game plan or when the actual game is going on, that's a thought. I don't think that. But once you get through all of it, then you obviously have to just have some type of conversation or address it. Like you do. You have to make sure that, and even if it isn't talking about him leaving or the transfer portal, you have to make sure that you talk about his future and how you see him developing and why it's going the way that it is right now. Those are all conversations that have to be had so that everybody is on the same page. And I'm not a college football coach. I'm not a college quarterback. I could be wrong, but I would just be surprised if some way, shape, or form, directly or indirectly, they aren't at least somewhat thinking or addressing how that would work out.
And I don't know if runoff's right, technically the right word for Bachmeier. I guess you could say that, but Sky Ship does bring up an interesting point now. If you have Bachmeier, he ends up transferring when they do the QB controversy. If Green ends up leaving, I mean, that's 2 of the 3 years here and 2 years in a row, really, where we've had QB controversies and, Bachmeier leading halfway through last season, Jay. I mean, it is, you'd like to have a little more stability, I guess, at the quarterback position. I don't think that, Bush Hamden said it. He'd rather have one. I don't think Andy Avalos loves having a 2 quarterback system. He'd rather just have one, but he has been pretty quick to in both instances kind of manufacture these things.
Really? I mean, you kind of look back at the track record and
very first game, he like second quarter last year, they were down like 17-0. Yeah, but it was the season opener with your senior quarterback, and he brought in Taylor Green against Oregon State.
Clearly there was something going wrong with Hank in that game. Like he was off, but it took him no time, as you said, to go to Taylor Green as a redshirt freshman who, I mean, he's coming off his redshirt year. So that was really like his first like actual game that he could really play in. And he was thrown into the fire almost immediately. I think the thing that you just want to see is development. I'm a little against fans that believe the coaching staff is out to get Talon. That is just things that whenever you tweet about the quarterback matchup, you hear a lot of opinions on, and I just don't think that is valid at all. They say that, I've just been trying to look at this a little bit differently when we talk about Talon's confidence. And I think that anybody that is outside of that quarterback room or offensive room is going to be just a little too disconnected from what that actually is and the value of what this journey for Talon Green. Would you rather have him on the field and fail, or on the field finding success at moments and then trying to work behind the scenes on, perceived weaknesses so that he will be better for the future? And I think that would be the more, the route that I would be confident in that would help his development eventually. And is it ideal? No, it's not ideal. But 2 weeks ago, when I asked Bush Hamden about the situation a little bit, he did say, in season isn't really the training grounds for development. Yes, you take time for that, totally, but you only have so much time in a week. NCAA gives these guys, gives coaches, I believe, 20 hours a week to work with these players. And anything that the player wants to devote beyond that is solely up to him. And it just, I think that they like the way that Maddox Madsen prepares. I think the way that they like that how he handles the offense. And maybe in terms of development, that Talon does need more snaps in practice, and Maddox is the type of talent that doesn't. He's proven that he can go out there and perform on game day and be pretty efficient. So none of it's ideal, but I also think that it's worth saying it's not like coaches are just blindly throwing darts at a dartboard to figure this out.
Oh, they have a plan. They have a plan.
I know there's jokes out there like that, but that's not the case. Bush Hamden's an extremely intelligent guy, and if you don't like what he's doing on offense at times, then you're missing it, man. They have ran the ball unbelievably well this season. I mean, as well as they have in the last decade, maybe even further back than that. It's not ideal at the quarterback position, but they're still finding a way to average 30 points a game, which if you look at over the course of a season, they haven't done that since Brian Harsin left his post at Boise State in 2020. They're averaging 427 yards of offense per game. They haven't done that since 2019, pre-COVID. And they're doing some nice things on offense right now. I know that at times it leaves us just completely freaking guessing. Maybe they're giggling over there at that, BJ, because if we're guessing and we cover the team every day, I'm going to guess that the opponents they go up against are really guessing at what's going on right now.
Yeah, and as I've said, I would almost be happier if they just played Madsen 90% of the time than some of the back and forth. We had a little less of the back and forth in the last game.
We did.
It was just Green, and then I do think that, as we mentioned yesterday, that the fumble from Green, I think is obvious now that affected his playing time, because they went into that game, I think, giving Talon Green a chance. He played I think the first 4 drives for the most part, and we didn't see the kind of go to Talon on the first 3rd down. They left him in there. He threw the ball to Emack. I mean, I think they were really giving Talon Green, and I was very happy to see that. And he was starting to run with it, and then that fumble really just and Bush even admitted he had an emotional decision. Basically get him out of there. We can't have this fumble. And then Maddox Madsen got a chance, and he ran with it then, when he got the chance. And I do think that fumble really hurt Talon's playing time in that game.
Probably. We've seen Ashton Genty, who leads the country still in all-purpose yards and is tied for first in touchdowns, have to sit down for a little while because of fumbling the football. So if you're going to do that to him, you can do that for anybody on your offense. And maybe that's exactly what happened, BJ. I think that it just seems like there's a lot of chaos around this decision right now, and it really is trying to seemingly divide Bronco Nation at times, and I don't think that that's the way that it has to be. There's only a couple people that truly have feelings that matter of what's going on right now, and they wear number 10, 4, and then they call plays for number 10 and number 4. And outside of that, anybody's opinion just probably shouldn't really influence much of what's going on right now. And I don't want to make this seem like 1 or 2 tweets is the vast majority, because it's not. But I have had people tweet back at me I'd rather just, this team only win 4 games the entire season and just ride it out with Talon and see him develop. So you're telling me that if you lose every single game from here on out,
which that would not happen. If Talon Green got to play every snap the rest of the season, I bet you they go 3-1.
Okay. I'm just throwing out hypotheticals here based off of, again, a couple people replying to me that said, I don't care if they don't win a game the rest of the season as long as Talon Green is on the field. That would not be a good thing for the program. That would be a terrible thing for the program. And then do you actually think like that would be a good thing for Talon Green? Like just being on the field but losing every game? That would be a terrible idea. DJ, I want to reiterate, I'm not saying that I would think that they would lose every game if Talon Green was on the field for every play the rest of the season. That's not what I'm saying. I'm only saying like the irrational people that have replied to some of my stuff on Twitter, like I just have to dismiss that. I think that would be an awful idea for everyone involved. I just think that it is we need to see progress out of Talon. We need to see the offense continue to progress and be efficient and have a rhythm. I feel like we saw that against Wyoming. Now they have to do it against a much better team in Fresno State on the road. Can they manage that? They have to prove that they can. And it's going to be little things like, Talon's footwork and his pocket presence and things like that, because I don't know why we have to say this every time. There are things that Talon can do that other quarterbacks can't. Okay, there, I said it. There's also things that Maddox Madsen can do that are superior to Talon at the moment. And that involves hanging in the pocket and delivering the ball over the middle of the field. That's not an opinion. Go look at the stats. Like they're right there for you to see. Those are things that this offense demands. Throwing the ball on time. Maddox is simply get better at throwing the ball on time in the rhythm of this offense. I mean, you could even go back to the Colorado State game with Dirk Cutter, who is the former offensive coordinator here for Talon Green and Boise State. And I just remember on 1 or 2 throws where Talon threw it and he said, hey, Talon's a little late on that. I'm sure that he knows way more about what's going on than I do, right? And so there are just little hints that the growth, the development, it is still a process. Talon is only a sophomore. You just want to see him continue to make progress the rest of the season.
Couple other quick hitters that I want to touch on. The turnover margin that needs to clean up here for Boise State. George Halani returning as well. We'll do that in 90 seconds. Don't go anywhere here on Bronco Nation News. Bronco Nation News is sponsored by Tommy Alquist and Ball Ventures Alquist, Idaho's premier commercial real estate development company. BVA projects specialize in office, retail, flex, medical, and industrial spaces located at some of the most strategic and visible locations in the valley. Need a developer? Looking for new space? Think BVA. At BVA, we are Idaho's developer. The Nicolason family and SON management have proudly been operating Taco Bell restaurants in and around the Treasure Valley since 1969. One of the first to make a 7-figure donation to the Lyle Smith Society, they've also stepped up their support of Boise State athletics with the Taco Bell men's and women's basketball endowed scholarships. The Nicolason family and SON management have committed at least $310,000 by 2026. Get more information on their financial support of Boise State athletics and find information on applying to work at Taco Bell at tacobellworks.com. Lithia Ford of Boise is a proud supporter of Boise State athletics and the official car and truck of the Broncos. Lithia Ford of Boise supports Bronco student athletes through NIL deals, including providing Ford vehicles to Talon Green and Riley Smith from the football team and Paige Barsh from the volleyball team. Rain's family purchased our F-150 from Lithia Ford. Couldn't be happier with the purchase. Check out the all-electric F-150 Lightning or the electric Mustang Mach-E at Lithia Ford, and make sure to check out their full inventory of vehicles at lithiafordboise.com. The Blue and Orange Store is the perfect spot to get all your gear for your next Bronco game. The Blue and Orange Store has official Nike apparel, including jerseys, shirts, sweatshirts, jackets, hats, and more. Wear what the Broncos wear and get it at the Blue and Orange Store, the second floor of the Boise Town Square Mall, or get free shipping on a $40 order online at theblueandorangestore.com. All right, back for our final segment of the show here. We got about 5 minutes left, Jay, as we now contractually are able to have 45 minutes with Jay Tust. We'll be adding to his paycheck, so we appreciate Jay for agreeing, Camille probably more importantly for agreeing to allow for the extra 10 or so minutes here on these shows. And so we're able to...
I would like to point out that the mute button went off after that last commercial.
Yeah, that's what it usually does. Look where my hands are. They're underneath the table. I'm not even touching. I didn't touch it. I told you it automatically mutes when you play the commercial. It automatically
last
mutes.
Time.
Okay, something happened. I think you might before the commercial break. You might have pressed it or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Wish I had a short video clip to try it, but I don't. But
Whatever.
anyway, Tuesdays and Fridays are now 45 minutes with Jay. Hopefully some good news on that with the other hosts as well moving forward as we're working through some things. But Jay, -6 for the season in the turnover margin. The offense has 15 turnovers through 8 games. The defense, maybe more alarming, has only come up with 9 turnovers on defense through 8 games. Which one, I guess, is more concerning? The defense not only getting about 1 a game, the offense giving up almost 2 a game. And I guess it's an obvious answer here, but down the stretch, how important on these last 4 games is the turnover battle going to be?
Pretty important. It begins this week in Fresno. You need to play your best game of the season. We've seen Boise State put it together at times. We saw them put together their best 4-quarter effort against Wyoming last week. I would still say that if I was going to give that great game an overall grade, just because of the fact they did turn it over a couple of times, and that definitely takes your grade down, you're still probably looking at a B. If they don't have any turnovers in that game, BJ, it's 40-0. I mean, the only reason why Wyoming even got any points is because there was a muffed punt. Outside of that, they didn't sniff the end zone, And so if you take the turnovers out of that game and they play a true A game, you're looking at 40-0 or maybe even beyond against, again, a Wyoming team that rolled in at 5-2 and was competitive against Texas and Air Force. And so it's going to probably take that A type of effort to go down to Fresno State and pull an upset. Boise State, if you look at ESPN's Football Power Index, they have a well less than 50% chance of winning this game. They are an underdog in Vegas. I believe the last I saw, BJ, was -3 by your boys over at Circa.
Yep.
So Fresno State,
there are boys. You're on the BNN payroll.
Right. Fresno State favored by 3. I believe that's what I last saw from them. And they're going to have to play an A game to go down there and get a victory. They're capable of doing it. When they went there in Andy Avalos' debut season in 2021, not many people were giving them a chance. And Fresno State, I believe, was favored by even more with Jake Haener at quarterback.
Yeah.
And the Broncos absolutely blew out the Bulldogs. I think it was 40-14 the final. George Halani had a really big game for Boise State. Might have to have another really big game for Boise State. And they're going to have to play their A game, BJ. And hopefully they can – it's game 9, right? So if there's ever a time where you should be able to put together your A game, it's probably game 9 of the season, a week or so after your bye.
It is still +3 from our friends at Circa Sports, over under of 55, and Boise State is +130 on the money line. Fresno State is -150 right now.
55.
Seem a little low to you?
That seems a little low.
Yeah, that does seem a little low.
They're thinking, 29-26.
Something like that, yeah.
Maybe.
Final thing, though, which could impact that, Ashton Genty, we don't know his status going into this game on Saturday. Bush Hampton kind of came out and admitted he was dealing with something even before the game, which was interesting, having a bye week, and then all of a sudden he's dealing with something. I'm just going to say this. I'm not surprised. Like, seeing some of the hits he takes and some of the punishing he takes, like, if you would have given me some sort of odds on, after the second or third game of Ashton Genty playing in every game this season, I would have probably not taken that. Like, I think let's just be honest. It's football. The running back is such a brutal position. It's so hard to stay healthy for a full season. You hope it's just 1 or 2. You hope it's one game. I mean, you hope it's none. You hope there's a way you can get back out there on Saturday. We were neither one of us, so we could do the show. We're not at practice today. I haven't seen if there's any photos or videos yet on social media of him practicing. We'll try to get out there tomorrow. Usually when you leave the game early, it's tough to play in the next week's game, Jay. So we'll see what happens. But that would be quite the task, going on the road trying to beat Fresno State without Ashton Genty. But nice to have a guy like George Halani be waiting in the wings to come back in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that they'd made a good call. It sounds like they got Ashton out of that game at the appropriate time. It didn't sound like they were like trying to test him or push him in that contest. Bush identified it kind of early. They spoke with George. George seemed like he was willing and able and ready to do whatever they wanted. And maybe that I'm going to guess that was probably a good thing, and not to push Ashton any more than they had to. And George stepped up. He was fine. This is not a knock by any means. I've seen peak George Halani, and as good as George was last week, I still think like he's getting back. He's working to get back. It's only been about a week or so since he's been able to run on land, meaning, he's probably doing some assisted stuff in the pool as he was rehabbing. And I think you're going to see a better version of George Halani even as the rest of the season progresses here, just as he continues to get his legs back under him and really can make those cuts that he's been known to make here at Boise State. And his burst, his acceleration, his toughness. I love the fact that he's back. I know we say a lot of times like, hey, this kid's a good kid. This kid's a good kid. George Halani is like, there are a few better than him in my opinion, in terms of his approach, his selflessness, his demeanor, his leadership, his toughness. The list goes on and on. His ability to battle back from adversity. If you talk about George Halani, you should talk about as highly as anyone in that football building right now.
No doubt. And like I said, it's a nice luxury. They just got really lucky with the timing that he was back and was able to go, over the pitch count they had for him in that game. And now if you are without Ashton Genty, to have a 2-time 1,000-yard rusher ready to take the load, and have a week of practice for the game plan and stuff. Not many teams have that luxury. So that'll be nice for Boise State going into Saturday. Appreciate it, Jay, as always. I think we're going to switch it up and do Thursday, I believe, right? This week, maybe. I'm not sure yet. I think Thursday. Did we say Thursday?
I think that's what
Mike
you
Prater. Mike Prater's going to the U2 concert, and he's flying back Thursday. So we're going to do Mike Prater on Friday. Okay. If you can do Thursday, that would be great. Then you won't have to wake up whoever's in your hotel room in Fresno on Friday morning at 8 a.m.
I'd rather wake them up than my
okay.
My
all right. Well, we can do both days if you want. We can. We'll figure it out. But Jay, appreciate it as always. Thanks everybody for checking us out. We have well over 100 people watching this video, pretty much from start to finish. So the viewership's going up. Appreciate it as always. Week from tonight, the basketball team's back in action. We'll have some interviews this week and some stories there as well. I know Jay will have it covered on KTVB. We'll have you at Bronco Nation News as well. And then inching closer, getting you set for Saturday's football game at Fresno State. And again, ball talk coming on Thursday night. I'll have John Mallory tomorrow morning. When's Jay's Sports Bar come out?
Should be out tomorrow night.
Okay, Jay's Sports Bar with Shane Williams, Rhodes, and Jay. Make sure you check out their podcast as well. That'll be out tomorrow. So have a great rest of your day. Go check BroncoNationNews.com. Go subscribe. We appreciate all you guys. Have a great day. Bronco Nation News Live, BroncoNationNews.com. You looking for a new job? Well, how about getting into the trucking industry? Our friends at Transportation Compliance Service can help you every step of the way, whether it's the big rig on your screen, the Amazon truck in your neighborhood, all the paperwork, all the things you need. Let them help you out. Transcomservice.com. They'll have you out there towing that first load in no time. Transcomservice.com. United Commercial Insurance makes business insurance easy. They can write business policy insurance in 44 states around the country. UnitedCommercialInsurance.com. Give them a call, 229-8222. Bronco Nation News, a proud client of United Commercial Insurance. We highly recommend you do as well at UnitedCommercialInsurance.com. The Raines family is happy to have made the switch to Boise Dentistry Co. Highly recommend you do as well. Dr. Miner and his staff, full family dentistry for the whole family. They make it an enjoyable experience to go to the dentist, and we highly recommend you check them out. 5 locations in the Treasure Valley. You may think you're happy with your dentist. You'll be even happier if you make the switch to Dr. Miner and Company. Check them out online, BoiseDentistryCo.com. The pounds continue to fall off, and it's thanks to Dave and our friends over at Lean Feast. Check them out, leanfeast.com/Meridian. Full customizable meal prep. You want to go into the store, pick out your meals individually. That's great. It's right there on Eagle Road in Meridian. Or you can do it all online at leanfeast.com/Meridian, and they'll deliver it to you. 208-487-5782. They're feeding the football team, the basketball team, Taylon Green, Ashton Genty, Tyson Degenhart, and more. Check them out. Lean Feast, leanfeast.com/Meridian. Still time to get that fall round of golf in, and you need to do it at Timberstone Golf Course out in Caldwell. Book a tee time at playtimberstone.com. The best greens in the valley, new technology, new golf carts, friendly environment, fun, challenging course. Check them out, Timberstone Golf Course. Book your tee time today, and I'll see you out there. Playtimberstone.com.